Some of the biggest names in music didn't hit their stride until much later in their journeys. They spent years grinding in the underground and finally got their moment. In this video, we'll look at 8 artists that blew up late in their career. Doja Cat. Doja Cat's career started long before her mainstream breakout, and her rise was anything but overnight. In 2014, she dropped her debut EP Purr under RCA Records, featuring the song So High, which generated some buzz online, but failed to establish her as a household name. For years, she remained in the underground, experimenting with different sounds and aesthetics, being ignored by the label. Her first significant viral moments came in 2018 with the viral hit Moo, a meme song that made her popular. While it was treated more as a joke, it put Doja on the map. That attention gave her sophomore album Hot Pink some momentum, with Juicy becoming her first real hit. Her true breakthrough came in 2020 when Say So became a TikTok phenomenon and went all the way to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. By then, Doja had been working in the industry for over 6 years, and the hit suddenly turned her into one of the biggest pop stars. She continued the momentum with Planet Her in 2021, which cemented her as a global superstar, producing multiple top 10 hits like Kiss Me More and Need to Know. Today, Doja is one of the most versatile artists of her generation, seamlessly blending rap, R&B, and pop. Her career proves that persistence is everything. While it may have looked like she came out of nowhere when she blew up, it was a result of years of grinding behind the scenes. Shaboozey. Shaboozey's story is another example of an artist who took the long road to stardom. He began making music in the early 2010s, fusing rap, country, and folk influences to create a unique sound. For nearly a decade, he remained under the radar, releasing singles and projects independently without much recognition. His genre-blending style was overlooked for years. In 2018, he got some attention by contributing to the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. That introduced him to a wider audience, but it wasn't enough to propel him into mainstream stardom. Shaboozey continued experimenting with his music, leaning into country-infused pop and storytelling, but his albums and singles failed to make a major chart impact for years. Still, he remained persistent and built his fanbase. The turning point came in 2024 when Shaboozey collaborated with Beyonce on Cowboy Carter. Riding the wave of that exposure, he released a bar song Tipsy, which exploded on TikTok and changed his life. The song not only became his first major hit, but also dominated the Billboard Hot 100, spending 19 weeks on #1, matching the all-time record for the Hot 100, and turning Shaboozey into an overnight success. Even though he had been in the industry for more than a decade, the song's blend of nostalgia, flipping Jaquan's Tipsy, and the country sound made it a perfect fit for the 2020s music landscape. Now recognized as a trailblazer in the country rap crossover space, Shaboozey represents the new wave of genre-fluid artists. His success has continued, scoring other hits like Good News. Far from an overnight success, Shaboozey is a late bloomer, proving that patience can eventually pay off. Lizzo. Lizzo's rise to superstardom may have felt quick, but her journey to the top was long and filled with disappointment. She began her music career in the early 2010s in indie hip-hop groups like The Chalice and Girl Party, releasing mixtapes. Despite critical acclaim in underground circles, Lizzo struggled to break through to the mainstream after going solo. Her first 2 solo projects, Lizzo Bangers in 2013 and Big Girl Small World in 2015, gained some attention but didn't make any waves. Even when she signed with Atlantic Records and dropped her EP Coconut Oil in 2016, featuring the empowering single Good as Hell, mainstream listeners weren't paying much attention. For years, Lizzo toured relentlessly and was even a host on an MTV show, but commercial success seemed like something she would never get. Everything changed with the release of her 2019 album 'Cause I Love You. The album exploded thanks to Truth Hurts, a song that had actually been released 2 years earlier in 2017. When it went viral on TikTok, it entered the charts and eventually hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, holding the top spot for 7 weeks. Songs like Juice and Good as Hell became empowerment anthems, and suddenly Lizzo was a household name. After nearly a decade of grinding, she became one of the defining pop stars of the late 2010s. Since her breakthrough, she has solidified her presence as a global superstar. She won 3 Grammy Awards in 2020, toured arenas worldwide, and continued releasing hits like About Damn Time, which earned her another Grammy in 2023. Even though she has slowed down recently, her slow rise to stardom shows you should never give up. Sia. Sia's path to fame is one of the most unconventional in modern pop music. Starting her career in Australia in the mid-1990s, she was originally part of the band Crisp before launching her solo debut Only See in 1997. However, her early solo work was ignored by the mainstream. She gained modest recognition in the UK and Australia with her 2000 sophomore album Healing is Difficult, but she remained a cult artist. Throughout the 2000s, Sia built a reputation as a collaborator rather than a chart star. She became a key member of the down-tempo group 07. Her solo albums during this era were critical darlings, but not mainstream successes. Then her song Breathe Me gained attention when it was featured on a TV show, but it still didn't make Sia a household name. Ironically, she first tasted massive success behind the scenes. By the early 2010s, she had become one of pop's most in-demand songwriters, penning smashes like Rihanna's Diamonds. Despite her talent, Sia shied away from fame. For a time, she considered retiring entirely from performing, but the success of Titanium in 2011 reignited her career. By 2014, she returned to the spotlight with her album 1000 Forms of Fear. That album contained the global hit Chandelier, which catapulted Sia to superstardom at age 38. The song became an anthem, and its iconic music video turned it into a generational smash. Then with Cheap Thrills, she got her first #1 on the Hot 100 and cemented her status as a true pop star. Sia took a very long road to superstardom, even though she never liked what came with it. Mitski. Mitski began her career in the early 2010s. Her first album's Rush, which was released in 2012, and retired from SAD New Career in Business in 2013, were dropped when she was in school. These early works showed her potential. Her breakthrough in the alternative world started with Bury Me at Makeout Creek in 2014, which established her as a rising critics' favorite. Her profile grew further, especially when the track Your Best American Girl built some buzz, earning her respect with indie rock circles. Still, she wasn't charting on Billboard or dominating streaming. Her success remained niche, supported by her devoted fanbase. Be a Cowboy elevated her to a new level. The single Nobody became her most recognizable track up to that point. It landed her on late-night TV performances and festival spots, but she still wasn't a mainstream name. In fact, Mitski announced a hiatus in 2019, signaling burnout. At that point, many believed her career might plateau, but her true mainstream explosion came in the 2020s when TikTok propelled older songs like Washing Machine Heart to viral fame. In 2022, her song My Love Mine Oh Mine became a huge streaming hit, accumulating 1.7 billion Spotify streams. By 2023, with The Land Is Inhospitable and So Are We, Mitski cemented herself as a generational singer-songwriter. Her rise was a slow build, taking more than a decade, which blossomed late thanks to internet virality. Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter's career in the entertainment world began as a Disney Channel actress. She starred in Girl Meets World from 2014 to 2017, gaining a fan base and releasing music alongside her acting career. Her early albums such as Eyes Wide Open in 2015 and Evolution in 2016 positioned her in the teen pop space, but none of her singles broke through to the mainstream. It seemed like she was never going to get to Selena Gomez or Miley Cyrus levels. She continued to release music consistently, with albums like Singular Act 1 and Act 2 showcasing a more polished pop direction. Songs like Sue Me and Almost Love hinted at her potential, but never pushed her into the upper echelon of pop. By the early 2020s, she was respected in industry circles, but she wasn't considered a commercial force. In fact, her name often floated in conversations of underrated artists. Her turning point came in 2022 with the release of Emails I Can't Send. The project produced the single Nonsense, which became a sleeper hit thanks to TikTok. Its playful outros at her concerts added to its legacy, but it became a chart hit, peaking at number 56 on the Billboard Hot 100. In 2023 and 2024, Sabrina's career reached a new peak. Feather became another mainstream hit, finally earning her heavy radio play. By 2024, Sabrina had completed one of the most impressive slow climbs in modern pop. Her album Short and Sweet became a historic success, with huge hits like Espresso, Please Please Please, and Taste, transforming her into a global superstar. With the release of her new album Man's Best Friend, she is now one of the biggest artists in the world. Showing consistency really pays off. Paak. Anderson .Paak's journey to fame is equally inspiring and unconventional. He spent years working on his craft as a drummer and songwriter. As a struggling musician in LA, before success, he worked odd jobs trying to support himself. Despite his talent, the early 2010s saw him navigating making music even though he was homeless for some time, when he adopted the name Anderson .Paak and released his 2014 album Venice, which gained critical attention but not widespread commercial success. His breakthrough moment came in 2015 when he appeared on 6 tracks of Dr. Dre's album Compton. His energy stood out, and the Dre cosign gave him industry validation. In 2016, he solidified his reputation with the release of Malibu, a critically acclaimed album that earned him Grammy nominations and placed him on the map. With his blend of funk, soul, hip-hop, and R&B, Malibu proved he wasn't just a feature artist, he could really make a full body of work. His career peaked further when he partnered with Bruno Mars to form Silk Sonic, releasing the 2021 hit Leave the Door Open, which won multiple Grammys, including Record and Song of the Year. After a successful collab album, is at a good spot in his career. For Anderson .Paak, the road to success was long and filled with setbacks, but his resilience carried him to the top. 2 Chainz. Before the world knew him as 2 Chainz, he spent years grinding in the rap industry under a different name, Titty Boy. He was one half of the Atlanta duo Players Circle, best known for their 2007 single Duffelback Boy featuring Lil Wayne. While the song made waves, he was never recognized as a solo star. By the early 2010s, he decided it was time to reinvent himself. Dropping the Titty Boy name, he adopted the more marketable and catchy moniker 2 Chainz. He began releasing mixtapes like True Religion that quickly caught fire online. His witty punchlines started resonating with a wider audience. Collaborations with artists like Kanye West and Drake gave him the mainstream credibility he lacked during his Players Circle days. His breakthrough came in 2012 with his debut solo album based on a true story, which debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and spawned hits like No Lie and Birthday Song. The rapper in his mid-30s, once written off as a local act, was everywhere. The album earned Grammy nominations, and his features became some of the most in demand in hip-hop. Unlike younger breakout stars, 2 Chainz's years of industry experience gave him an edge. Since then, he has maintained a steady presence in rap, with albums like Pretty Girls Like Trap Music, cementing his reputation as one of Atlanta's most consistent hitmakers. What makes his story remarkable is how he went from being dismissed early in his career to finding stardom late by totally rebranding himself. Which artists that blew up late in their career did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.